So welcome back. This is Reggie Mara speaking about Healing America's Narratives. We're dealing with chapter 5 of the book, which is a brief history of African Americans. And more specifically, I want to point to some dates and create some perspective or remind ourselves of some perspective. Despite the Emancipation Proclamations in 1862 and 1863, despite the end of the Civil War in 1865 and the passage of the 13th Amendment in that same year, which freed formerly enslaved peoples. Despite the 14th Amendment in 1868, which conferred citizenship on anybody born or naturalized in the United States, and also made it clear that the states could not do anything that prevented an equal protection of the laws to American citizens. And then the passage of the 15th Amendment in 1870, that gave formerly enslaved males, not females, but the males, the right to vote, that despite those movements which seemed to be, and in fact, we're going in a good direction, despite all of that, between 1865 and approximately 1876, period commonly called Reconstruction, about 2,000 formerly enslaved people were lynched in the South. And specifically lynching, while it does refer to hanging, it refers to any kind of terrorist activity, including killing the person. But it was beatings, burnings, stabbings, and very often performed by mobs of whites against one or two or several blacks. And often there were invitations sent out before these lynchings were going to take place, so they could be attended. After Reconstruction, so from approximately 1877 through 1950, there were an additional 4,000 plus lynchings, mostly in the South, not all, but mostly in the South. And those statistics come from the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. You can look up those statistics in their research. So the point that we're trying to make here is, and this is just history, which most of us should know and we're possibly taught aspects of in school. One of the reasons that there's still a lot of argument, a lot of divisiveness around race relations in the United States, and specifically around Black and white, white and African American, is if you look at the trajectory of the history. And I didn't even go all the way back to the earliest slaves. I began with the end of the Civil War and moved through the end of the formalized lynchings in about 1950 and then the civil rights movement in the 60s and moving forward. And we still get to have a white cop kneeling on a black man's neck in broad daylight in 2020, which led to the protests in this country and around the world. So you can see that, yeah, progress has been made. Laws have been passed. Amendments to the Constitution have been made. But we're nowhere near being there yet where we need to be as human beings together. So we'll continue providing some specific references from history, post-Civil War up to the current day as we explore Chapter 5 of Healing America's Narratives. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you the next time.